Hello, I'm here to talk to you about page transitions using only CSS. When I'm talking about page transitions, I'm talking about if you go to a website or a web app and you click a link in there and it leads to another destination within that website or web app, and there's some kind of animation that occurs. So, um, things swipe off to the side or things come into view or move up, those kinds of animations. How might we do that with CSS? So, there's a variety of ways we're going to use CSS animations for our purposes. Um, there are some caveats there. There are some jank that we need to sort of sort out with CSS. One of the things I would encourage you to take a look at if you're interested in CSS animations and page transitions is the page transition API. It is currently an experimental feature, only available in Chrome Canary, but it is something to kind of take a look at if you want to get really deep dive into some of this stuff because it's pretty cool. But we're going to stick to CSS for right now because it's fun. So I'm going to show you what this animation looks like. So we have this article here I got from the AP, and then this little link down here that's going to take us to another article within the same website. It has a nice little hover feature here. I'm going to click on it. Woo! You'll see some animations here. So we had the content become more opaque, it was invisible, and then it became more opaque and it moved up from down the page, and you might have caught it, but there's like a slight background color transition. I'll do it one more time. Nice, cool. So the way that we're going to do this is CSS animations. Even though this is a pretty straightforward animation, we're going to use keyframes instead of the transition property, mostly because we get a little bit complex with starting and endpoints, and so we want to keep it there. Transitions are great for like hover states or anything that is a little bit more simplistic than this. So I'm going to go into the code here and show you what we have going. I have a bunch of code that we really don't need to look at, but one of the things that we're going to look at is the animation here. And so we're going to start with the keyframes. And so this is how we define a CSS animation. We're going to call it fade in. We have a specific way of doing this, and we can do from to. That just means like, at the starting point, at the ending point. But if you want to get complex, you can do percentages of like, at this duration, do this. And so all we're doing is going from not opaque to opaque and transforming it from the bottom of the page. So we have a transform translate to where it's supposed to be, translation 0. We also have a slight background color transition of like a slightly like see-through transparency black to totally white. So what that looks like when we put it into code is this animation up here. So just to define this, we have on that second page here, we have the is transitioned class. That's because when we go to this first page, we don't want an animation to occur because if someone just drops in here, they don't want the animation on the first page, only when they click this specific link. That's where things get a little complex with CSS that you might have to bring in JavaScript for if you have a more fully fledged page transition pattern going on here. But for our purposes, we can stick to this. So we have is transitioned class that is on specifically this page right here. And we define the animation here. So you have the animation, we're going to call it fade in. This is where we're pulling it in from here. We're having it last 2 seconds. And the transition, the animation timing property is forwards. So the reason that we're doing forwards here is because we want it to stay on that last frame. We don't want it to loop or anything like that. We want it to stay on this to state of being fully opaque, being in the right spot, and having a background of white. The other piece of information that you're going to need here is that the default state should live and be the same as the from state. And so we have it set to default as like, being not opaque, being translated down 50 viewport heights, and having a background color that is that slightly transparency black. That's because if there's any type of lag on the page load, you don't want things to jump. So you want things to sort of start off where they're supposed to start off. So by defining it here in the selector, we're not going to create any sort of jank or any kind of like really weird transition when the animation starts. So that's how you make a